This podcast is for anyone tired of sitting on the couch watching fucking Netflix. For anyone who wants to know how to break the 9-to-5 slave life. For anyone who wants to be better tomorrow than they are today. I want to help you learn how to break the cycle. This is your story, and you have to write it. Come on in. We're just getting started.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's the Getting Started podcast, and as always, I'm your host, Sean Bussard. Today I'm here with Brandon Gazaway, a total, complete, badass entrepreneur and businessman. And guys, he's here to drop some truth and some value bombs, and it's going to be a good time. So, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Gazaway, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
So, man, just kind of want to get into this a little bit. First off, I want to say it's kind of cool to see you without your hat on. I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat on.
Well, man, most of the time I wake up at 3 a.m., right? So go to the gym, I got a hat on. I come home, I take a shower, and, drop off the kids and head straight into work. And so it's easy to jump out of the shower and throw a hat on. You got me on a haircut day, so
Hey, I know how it is, man. I'm an electrician by day. I'm very big on when I get up in the morning, unless I've got that perfect morning hair, which happens every once in a while. It's a hat for the whole day, and then I put my hard hat on. By the time I get home, you kind of see what I got going on right now, anyways.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's dig into this a little bit, man. Give me a little bit of your background. What kind of childhood did you come from? Were your parents big into business? Were they just kind of your typical blue-collar 9-to-5 guys? Or, how was your, financial situation and all that? Were you rich, poor, middle class?
I was a lower middle class kid. My dad was a preacher, Pentecostal preacher in Louisiana. Grew up in Louisiana. And my mom was a school teacher. And so we weren't, I didn't never go without food, or I was really what I call the danger zone, right? So I had just enough comforts to be comfortable in life, but everybody else had more than I did, right? So, and we haven't met yet, but if and when you meet me, you'll notice I'm a big shoe guy, right? It's because I grew up, I've got Jordans and Nike and all these shoes, but it's because I grew up as a kid, you grow up as a preacher kid, you can't have nice things if the preacher's making too much money. It's that old scarcity mindset that church really had. And so, I like to say I'm reliving my childhood now that I've got a business and I've got some, a moderate, amount of success. I spoil myself, and my wife's real bad about spoiling me with shoes and stuff. But it really was a point of I grew up wanting more. I wanted more because church was nice and being a teacher was nice, but it didn't provide the lifestyle I wanted to live. And so, fortunately, I'm the first one in 6 generations on both sides that's not a preacher, at least not
really?
yet.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It's kind of interesting you say that. At one point in time, I've kind of got my own little spiritual religious beliefs nowadays. Nothing crazy or out of this world or nothing like that. But there was a point in time where I was, real big into the church, and I actually wanted to become a pastor myself at one point in time. Part of me is glad I didn't go that route. Part of me kind of wishes I had stuck a little closer with it, but it's kind of neat to know that you're the first out of 6 to not go that route.
Yeah, and I like to think I preach in my own manner. With my coaching, my public speaking, I am a very extremely spiritual person and a very devout Christian. I just don't believe that God made me to be highly regimented and highly fundamentalized, that I can't reach people. I've got to browbeat them or beat them up with verses. My biggest ministry is to come see how I live. I live in generosity. I live in stewardship. I live in kindness and paying it forward to others. I mean, it's number one on my intention to show not only my kids how to live like Jesus, not talk it, not quote scripture, but actually apply it to my life. And I could go on and on about preaching about that, but I mean, I grew up having to memorize. I grew up in private school because the churches that we were around had a private school, so I got a free, I guess you'll call it private school education. It wasn't like Harvard or Ivy League. It was pretty country, but we grew up memorizing scripture, but nobody taught us how to apply it. And so for me, from a family man standpoint, and even from a coach, you'll hear a lot of my speeches and a lot of my public talks are biblical fundamentals, just put in a entrepreneurial perspective or in a secular perspective that people can digest without the preconceived notions of church.
Totally, man. I can totally relate to that. Especially in today's day and age, there's what I consider to be traditional, fundamental Christian values aren't, I guess, really taught or upheld like they once were. And I do think people these days have a spiritual connection with a greater force, call it God, call it the infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. But that sorry, my phone keeps going off here. I thought I had turned on silence. But yeah, man, the fact that you're able to relate those things to a secular type of philosophy, I guess, is really cool. I think that's part of why you resonate with so many people the way you do. I saw where you made a post earlier, I think it was today on Facebook. You weren't really a very comfortable person going live on video and stuff like that, and how all of a sudden you've been doing this for the last at least 2 or 3 weeks that I know about anyways. And just by getting yourself out there and getting your message out there in the way that you do, and just being the humble family guy that you are, it has resonated with so many different people across so many different levels. I know you said you were getting people from your church coming up to you that weren't necessarily your friends on social media or nothing like that, but they were just like, "Hey man, I saw your video today. It's awesome message. Thanks for putting that out there."
Yeah, for me, I grew up in a very, and you'll know, you're what, Tennessee, right?
Yep.
You're part of that Southern Bible Belt, and I grew up in the especially Pentecostal, where you're only holy or as holy as the amount of holes in your shoes, and you can't ever do anything outside of the box because God won't bless you for that, right?
Yep.
And so it's a lot of, people think I have it all together. I've been doing the videos for about a year. I took a challenge from a friend who said, "Man, you need to get your stuff on live videos." I was like, "Man, I don't do cameras." And I've done the power team and strike force, the feats of strength ministry for years. And so public speaking was never a problem. Speaking from a stage or speaking to kids has never been a problem. But you put this little lens in front of me and I used to freeze. I mean, I couldn't put a sentence together. And so I took the challenge and got over myself and got over the fact that, some people are going to make fun. Some people are going to hate it. And I put those away and just said, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there and be vulnerable. And if people like it, great. And if they don't, they can switch it off. I mean, I am who I am, and that's just who I'm going to be. And, fortunately for me, it's turned out to be a really great thing and I didn't know I'd touch people like that. I'm just a dad. I'm just a husband. I'm a guy trying to put food on the table and run a business, and help as many people along the way as I can. So I don't view myself as a guru. In fact, you go to my website, it says no fake gurus. I've been taken by those people, and I've spent money on people that didn't add any value, and I don't want to be that guy. I would just rather help people and make my money in my business than to ever take somebody's money for coaching and then go, you know what, you really didn't help me. I mean, that would hurt worse than any loss financially ever. So
Awesome, man. That's awesome, man. And I think that's why you resonate with me. You know, you're definitely down to earth, definitely real. And speaking for myself, you know, we haven't known each other very long, just a little bit here and there. And I mean, as far as I can tell, you're about as real as they come. There's no fake bullshit with you. And,
no.
you know, that's what I dig about you. But
Appreciate
let's
that.
keep diving in here, man. What was your first job back?
So, I mean, other than, you know, like mowing lawns as a kid, my first real job was about 12, I guess, 12 or 13. I started tearing off roofs for my uncle. He owned a roofing company, and he gave me a pitchfork and told me go have fun. I didn't really know what I was doing. It took me about a day to kind of get my sea legs, if you will, up on a roof. But we did that, and I did it. I guess that was 12, and I did that till I was 14. And I don't really know where I got it, but I got the sense that, hey, if I hire a couple of my friends, because he was paying me by the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an hourly wage. It was, hey, you get this roof done, I'll pay you $500 or $200 or whatever it was. I said, hey, if I hire two of my friends to do this at $100 a piece, then I can make $300, and I ain't got to do nothing. And they wanted money, and back then, you know, 12, 13, 14, $100 was a new pair of Jordans.
Oh yeah.
Little did he know, you know, I was running his roofs, and by the time I was 14, 15, I had 3 and 4 roofs being done a day, and was making, you know, a ton of money. When he caught on, he goes, okay, I see. And he enjoyed it. I didn't know. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't a scheme or anything like that. I just had a knack for multiplying my efforts. And, you know, never knew it would turn into having businesses and being an entrepreneur and that kind of deal. But, yeah, roofing and then concrete and hay baling. And I think at one point, maybe 16 or 17, I was driving. I was doing all three. I was, you know, if you listen to Ed Milet, he said he broke down his days into 3 days every 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was doing that stuff in my teens and didn't even know that it was like a guru type mindset.
Skill, yeah.
It wasn't. It was just me trying to earn $1, and I thought if I can earn one, I might as well earn 5, and it just grew from there.
Hell yeah, man. That's pretty cool. You were able to kind of already have that mindset and implement it when you were that young, even though you didn't know what you were doing. You still already had that business mindset, like, okay, well, if I do it like this and make more money this way with doing less, well, then I can do that and then do this and then do that and just keep stacking it all on top of each other. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Now, you know, so you're out there, you're, you know, working hard, making money. I'm assuming since your mom was a teacher, you were still doing pretty good in school, keeping your grades up and all that.
I did.
Were you doing any kind of sports or anything like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you look like a big old football guy to me, so.
I played football. I played basketball. And believe it or not, I wasn't as big as I am now. I was a 2-time state tennis champion. So I played tennis and won state twice my sophomore and junior year, and didn't place my senior year. But, yeah, played, went in and redshirted college football for McNeese State there in Lake Charles, and suddenly realized that I am 6'1", and at the time I was 190, 195, and I was a step slow as a fullback, and I got leveled by a cornerback. And you know football,
Mm-hmm.
A fullback gets leveled by a cornerback.
It's game.
You're not long for the game.
No.
So I found the weight room, and you know, it turned from football and weights to weights and football to, hey, I think I'll try this bodybuilding thing. And so it just kind of evolved from there.
That's cool. Now, All right, so we're in your college years now. Where about was it when you kind of hit a point where it was like, all right, well, I'm doing pretty good, but I'm not where I want to be, and making I'm not making this life my life yet. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. It was
Okay.
my sophomore year in college. I dropped out. I dropped out with a perfect 4.0. And doing night school, working in ConocoPhillips as a scaffold builder during the day, and I had a side business doing before side hustle was cool. I had a side business doing landscaping. I walked into a trigonometry class, and was always pretty good in school. I think I covered it on one of my videos. I could always end up at the right place with the answer, but showing my work just wasn't. And I'm still to this day, even with my kids, to try to show my work and get all the steps right. I'm that guy that why does it matter what the steps are if I can get the answer right? And in a lot of ways, I'm still living my life that way. But
I'm with you on that. That was the problem I always had in school, especially with math teachers, man. They hated me. They could hand out a worksheet full of problems, and I give you every answer on there. I can't show you how I got it. I just know that this number and this number make this number, and it's going to do that every single time, no matter how you do it.
And it's out of the box thinking, because I could actually start with the answer and reverse engineer the problem, and it would baffle them. But my sophomore, I guess it's my sophomore year, I dropped out, much to the dismay of my parents. I mean, like, we're talking full on drama, tears, yelling, the whole 9 yards. Not very pastoral, but we'll leave that there. And I told them, I went into the class. I was talking to them about a formula. And the teacher there, who gave me an extremely hard time, told me, look, I don't do math. I just teach what's in this book. And for me, it clicked. So you mean to tell me I'm paying all this money and taking out these student loans for somebody to teach me a theory they don't even know? That's not even their theory. They just read, ABC 1, 2, 3 out of the book, and I'm supposed to take this theory, not a fact, but this theory of a formula, apply it to my life, go into deep debt for this. And I know this is probably a random big thought, but it really, I remember it real vividly. I don't want to be taught theories. I want to be taught facts that make me successful. And again, I've got, my dad's an educator as well. He's got his, I think 2 or 3, I don't know. He's got a lot of degrees beyond theology. And my mom's an accounting PhD. She got tons of technical computer masters and things like that. So they're very much into the educational system. And for me, it was like, man, I don't need this. I can go make money. I can go plant trees and roll out sod. When I'm not doing the scaffold building thing. And I ended up, it wasn't but a couple weeks later, I realized that I was smarter than most of the people in the scaffold building. And you're an electrician, so I'm sure you've been around a few plants, a few job sites. Man, they're not the brightest bulb in the box.
No.
And so my superintendent noted it. He said, hey, man, I need somebody that's got some good common sense to be a safety guy. Man, I didn't know what a safety guy was, except I knew he rode in a little golf cart around ConocoPhillips, and he ain't ever sweat outside the AC. And I was
he's got that nice cushy job.
Yeah, I want that job. I had that job for, 2 years, I guess, and met my now wife and realized that, working turnarounds, working those jobs just wasn't going to provide the life I wanted for my wife. I didn't want her to ever have to work. And so I started doing contract safety work. So I would go into the big plants. I actually worked for the largest ethanol plant builder for about 2 years as well on a contract basis, which meant I got paid a lot of money because I was a consultant essentially. I wasn't a 9-to-5er. I wasn't a hourly guy. I named my price and they would let me in. And fortunately, I had enough sales chops that I could sell that they really needed me. And so we made quite a bit of money. And as being a safety guy like that and newlyweds, man, we got to see the world. We lived in 8 different states in the first 3 years of our marriage, and always lived in, good hotels and ate good food and, kind of had fun. But then, my daughter at that time, I think she was a year and a half, we kind of needed to kind of start laying down roots. And, for me, and let me know if I'm fast forwarding for you too much, man. I don't want to.
You're good, man. You're good. I'm loving it.
But for me, it was like, okay. And I use the coaching guru terms now. It wasn't going through my head. I just knew I needed to make more money in a stable environment. Right. And so, I took a job as a corporate safety, it wasn't a director. It was something, scheduler, corporate safety scheduler for a company called KR Wind. And KR Wind was out of Denmark. And man, I didn't know nothing about Danish people. I'm a country boy from Lake Charles, Louisiana. I didn't know nothing about it. And so I got thrust into this world of foreign people. I mean, just quite frankly, foreign people. We had people from Thailand, people from Denmark, people from Holland, all over, because they were real.
So this was like a big international conglomerate type of deal then.
Yeah, and I didn't know, man. And talk about God working. I heard through a friend they were hiring, right? And I, on a whim, went on their website, found out who the director of safety was, and I tossed my resume to him on a whim. Never thought it would happen. And I had actually taken a job in Alabama, and because I sat at home at my in-laws for a while, I don't know, a couple weeks, and I go stir crazy. So on my way there, this funny talking Danish guy calls me. I can't understand a word he says. He said, "Hey, where do I need to send you a plane ticket? I want to interview you in Dallas in the next week." And so I got that. I said, "Hey, I'll be in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm getting ready to take a job." He goes, "Oh, no, I gotta have you in here quick." So I drove my wife to Birmingham, left her in the hotel room, and then flew out to Dallas, which was kind of backwards from Lake Charles, but it was what it was. They picked me up in a limousine, drove me, wined and dined me, and I took this job all under the premise that they just really liked me, not knowing that they mistook me for some dude, some high-class dude that had, tons of degrees. They thought I was him, and here I came in again, humble, ready to work in the field, ready to really make this steady job a career path. They hired me on the spot, company credit card, company everything, right? And from a guy that's a contractor to go into all the corporate perks, it was, for me, I was excited. And it was the first really salary job I had. I'd never had a salary. I'd always worked off of contracts. Fast forward a year, and I went from the scheduler or whatever that was to I was the entire corporate director. I was the top safety guy in the company that they were purchased out later on that year by the world's largest crane company called Mammoth. I then 6
Thank
months
you for
after
actually clearing up how you pronounce that. I've seen that logo, and
Mammoth?
for years I've been calling it Mammoth. Mammoth.
It's not mammoth. It's Dutch for the woolly mammoth, Mammoth.
Okay.
Yeah. I became their corporate director for their renewable energies. And at the time I didn't think I knew anything about business. I darn sure didn't know about corporate business, budgets, and, all of it just baffled me, all of the line items I had to be responsible for. But when Mammoet bought out KR Wind, they fired all the Danish, sent them back to Denmark because they didn't want to pay for their visas. And I was the only lone white boy American in the room. Go, hey, we're handing you all this. Man, I was 26, 27 years old. And I went from being the scheduler to the director in a year. And from 6-8 months after becoming the director, which was bad enough, man, I had Canada, U.S., South America, and somehow they threw on Australia as a safety director. Well, as the corporate VP or director of renewable energies, I had all of those plus South Africa. And so I went from being just a little podunk guy to, in under a year, being the director of all of it. I ran labor, I ran HR, all of those people answered to me. And so it was like, okay, once again, fake it till I make it. I didn't know a whole lot about it. I had to lean on people like, hey, man, I got this budget report. What do you think? And kind of hand it over and, well, you should fix it. I'm ear hustling, right? I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just taking notes. We turned it around from a break even to we profited $190 million in the last quarter that I was there. So, I mean, we were doing good, and they said, hey, man, you got U.S. running good. We want you to move to either Copenhagen, Denmark, or Sao Paulo, Brazil. By that time, I had 2 kids and my one on the way. And so I had my third one, a boy.
Definitely a big no-no at that point.
Well, my wife goes, I'm not moving anywhere where I can't drive to my mama's. And I said, yes, ma'am. So probably my biggest step in faith, I mean, just raw faith. And, okay, God, I didn't have a choice. They didn't have me under a non-compete. So I walked out of there with a 7-month pregnant wife, and I walked on my job. I gave a 3-week notice, and I quit. And I said, I'm going to be a consultant in the wind industry. I had no clue what that meant. But what I did know is that I had earmarked about $8 million worth of local jobs in the U.S. that weren't going to get signed without me. They knew me. And I took them. And they were fine with it. I called them. I did the honorable thing. I called the guy that was taking over. I said, look, I got these people. I'd done life with them. They're relationship sales. I want to make sure that we're not going to, have any disturbance. They said, go take them, man. You did your job. So I walked out of that into consulting at, what was I, 28, 29 when I walked out? 29 when I walked out. And I walked out of a, $500,000, $400,000 a year salary into $8 million worth of consulting work. And so it just went on from there. We had a stable life. I'd been here in Dallas. And so all my kids, all they ever knew was Dallas as far as home. And had built a house and built a nice little life, but I was traveling more as a consultant, again, internationally. And it was hard on the family. I had kids that were, my oldest at the time was 6 or 7. And so it was, daddy needs to be home. I need to be a father. I need to be, having a dad that was a pastor, and he was also did a lot of evangelizing out on the road. There were certain things I wanted my kids to remember about me that I didn't remember about my dad. He wasn't bad or abusive or anything like that. It just, he didn't know how to be a dad. Right. And so I had determined that I was going to do something different with my kids. I wanted to be, and also, believe it or not, at 270 pounds, I'm the runt of my family. My dad's 6'5", 6'4", somewhere in there. Never under 300 pounds, and never lifted a weight in his life. So it wasn't exactly the right 300 pounds. Brother the same way. Mom, I think my mom's 5'10", but for a lady, 5'11". For a lady, she's pretty tall. They didn't have a healthy lifestyle, and so I didn't grow up with a dad that coached me in t-ball or coached me in pee-wee football. And I'm not singing a sad poor me story. That's not at all one. He just wasn't that kind of dad. My dad was a professional musician before a preacher. And I don't have a musical bone in my body, not one.
Hey,
I
I can
tried
kind of
playing
relate to that, man. My dad was definitely a lot like that himself to a degree. Whereas your dad was the preacher and on the church side of things, my dad was more the preacher of like the biker gangs.
There you go.
He definitely he was the whole outlaw biker. He spent the majority of his life working in machine shops and building parts for engines and like I think it was in 1995. 95, he had a real bad motorcycle wreck, lost his leg, and he spent almost 6 months in the hospital recuperating and recovering from all that. And the whole time he was in there, he was collecting disability from his work and this, that, and the other. And he was banking all this money. The day he got out, he immediately started putting all that money right back into the bike to rebuild the bike. And he figured out this whole system of adding a sag car to the bike to fix the weight balance and this, that, and the other. And he was, when it came to me playing football and things like that, he wasn't there for that. And for whatever reason, the connection never happened on like the engines and vehicles. So it's like I didn't really get that time with my dad that I try to give to my kids now too.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to you on that. And yeah, man, it's really cool that you want to step into that place because there's, especially in today's world, there's not a lot of guys who want to step into that place and be the dad versus here's some money, be happy.
Well, and I could go into the rant, man. I mean, you saw my rant on my group page there.
Dude, I love that rant. That rant set me up for the majority of the day. I was going on and on. Me and a couple of guys at work started talking about it, going on about it. Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Well, it's to that point. I mean, it's a lot of where, we look at those past dads and past generations of dads, and we wonder why males and the male identity is so jacked up. It's because people haven't stood in the gap in past generations to show a man how to be a man. We've had so many single parent homes, or even if the dad was involved, he wasn't involved, right? He was there, but he wasn't involved. And then we wonder why men don't know how to be men. It's because they've been raised by only women for so long, and a woman can't show a man how to be a man. It's just not.
Oh, you're absolutely right, man. It's like I remember when I first got out, I quit school at 17 years old. It wasn't for me. I was more comfortable working and making money than I was sitting in a classroom learning all this crap that was never going to make me a dime. And so I went to work. I ended up getting living with a couple of buddies of mine. We had this little single wide trailer. It was basically a party house because we were 17, 18, 19 years old, and that's what we were doing, And I didn't know jack about, changing my oil or changing a tire or any of that. I could cook, I could clean, I could do all the, typical mom stuff basically. But as far as like the only thing I really knew how to do that was like the man or the dad type stuff was I can mow the grass.
Yep.
And that was about it.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, getting back to with my kids, I'm extremely intentional about being an effective part of their life, being somebody that affects positive change. And a lot with my pastor healed a lot of the wounds I had of, am I screwing my kids up because I didn't have my parents effectively had screwed me up. is what I thought. You know, they didn't show me certain things, and you know, I having the feelings I have. I mean, I had to be quite transparent. I hadn't talked to my parents in 3 or 4 years. We don't do life together, and that's something I deal with all the time. Is, you know, that's and it's by my choice. It's just different ways of living life and different ways of viewing things. And so my mission is to make sure that my kids don't grow up having that feeling. And, you know, my pastor describes it as you have family of origin and family of choice. But where your heaven on earth is when your family of origin chooses you as your family of choice. And so, you know, I made that kind of my mission statement is I'm not here to be my kid's friend. I'm here to be their father and lead, guide, and direct them. But I want to do such a great job on them that when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, and they don't have to have me as a dad because they're legally of age and can go live their own life, they choose to have me as their dad. And that's a big measuring stick for me. And so that's, you know, that's why I come off the road and came off, you know, making 7 figures a year solid as a consultant was, you know, I can always go out and make money. I can always figure out a way to make money. I can't replace that time with my kids. And I owe it to society and I owe it to them to prepare them and to guide them and show them what an honorable, respectful person of integrity is. And
absolutely, man. And that ties back to that abundance mindset, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, if you have it, it's great. Most people don't have it, and I think it's partially because most people don't even know about it. They've grown up, they have been ingrained with that scarcity mindset of, you know, well, I've got to save this last dollar until I get my next dollar. I've got to, you know, stop here and hold on to this moment right here so that I can get to the next moment. And
well, we're taught to live by budgets instead of margins.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big, when I understood that principle, and again, it was something I did without ever realizing it, was if I want to live more, I live by a 70-30 principle. 70% of anything I bring in goes to the family, the house, the cars, the whatever, right? And then 10% of it goes into retirement. 10% of it goes into tithe. I'm a big proponent of that. And 10% of it goes into offering. And my offering can be to the church or it can be to help out a person in need. We've done both. 90% of the time it goes to the church and that's that. But if I want more, then I've got to go out and make more because that's my margin. I live on a 70% margin. And so if I'm going to, you know, want to go buy a new truck or buy a new car or another pair of Jordans or whatever it is, I got to make more than that 70%. I got to put more into that 70%. So that flows into everything as far as living by the margins. That flows into everything with my time, with my efforts. I mean, that's why I get up at 3 o'clock every morning, is because I'm trying to build margin into my day. I'm trying to build not just my training, not just working out and all of that, but I'm trying to build margin in my mindset. And, you know, if I get up a little earlier, that all started with E.T. the hip hop preacher saying he got up at 3:30 and he was catching up on those cats getting up at 4 and 5. I was like, all right, man, I'm as competitive as can be. I'm beating your tail up at 3.
I love E.T., man.
It's more like 2:45, but it's to build the margin. It's to build the mindset margin. It's to build the time I have with my family. I can, you know, if I'm up at 2:45, 3 o'clock and at the gym by 4, Daddy wakes up these kids every morning. You know, I'm at home by 6:15 from the gym. I wake them up for school. And they get to wake up to Daddy sweaty and nasty. But I do that. It's so extremely intentional for me to do that because I want them to understand that Daddy works hard. And it's not just hard for money. I work hard for excellence. I want to be the best, healthiest dad and husband I can be. I want to be the best, healthiest entrepreneur and coach and speaker and, whatever else I choose to do. I want to do it at a level that's elite and rare, a 1% type level. So that's my margin mindset, man. It's nothing special. It's nothing that nobody else couldn't do. I just do it at a consistent rate because I'm driven.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And that's something that I was never taught, and I've just recently really learned about the margin mindset.
Yep.
And especially as far as getting it into like my finances and things like that. And I know it's a hard thing to do, especially for someone who's in my position. I'm 9 to 5. Well, I say 9 to 5. That's a general term. You've done construction. Yep. You know that there's no construction in the world that starts work at 9 o'clock.
About 6 a.m. to about 9 p.m. and
yeah. Crazy hours. There's some nights you get called in. Hey, we're doing a pour at 2 o'clock in the morning. We need you to be here at 11 o'clock tonight.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, sure thing, boss. I'll be there.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've just now realized this. I'm starting to put it into effect, and it's slow. It does take a bit to kind of see the results, see the changes in it. But like you, I've gotten to a point where I'm driven. I'm not settling for being average no more. I'm all about the excellence, and I believe you're friends with Zachary Babcock. Underdog guy. I love Zachary. I love his podcast, and I've actually got him scheduled for an interview, I believe, next week. And one thing that he said that it really stuck with me is I want that legacy. When I die and when I'm gone, I want people fighting over who's giving the eulogy. I don't want just like my wife stand up there, her little bit, my parents or brothers or whatever, whoever has to be there. I want there to be an all-out Royal Rumble Battle Royale. Who's going to give my eulogy because I've left that big of an impact on that many people, and that has added to my drive and stoked the flames of the fire that I've started to really dig into myself. And I think that's kind of cool how a lot of people I'm talking to lately, that's kind of becoming sort of what defines – not necessarily defines them, but one of their biggest driving motives.
I mean, man, if you look at the society the way it is, and I swear it's not a political rant, but you look at just some of the nonsense, kind of like my video yesterday, just some of the nonsense that's out there. I mean, I believe as grown men of good sense, man, it's our duty and our responsibility to leave some good human beings to at the end of my life, I want to know that if my tribe is small, at least I left a tribe that can try to sort this mess out. So we're going nowhere quick. I mean, whether it's any of the movements, and I get where they start, but, for me, we've gotten so lost and lack of identity that I want my kids to understand who they are. Not just who they are in this world, but who they are in God, who they are in themselves, and be self-sufficient emotionally and mentally and spiritually, because that's where a lot of these people are lost. It's not that they really care about what life does and doesn't matter, or they're Me Too, or it ain't me, or whatever other movement that's going on. It's that they have no self-value. They have no self-esteem that they're worth, and that it's all tied to other people and other feelings, and they've got to be a follower. I mean, that's what a follower is they tie their value to the leader, right? I don't want to tie my value to anybody. I have people I do life with. I have a circle of friends, but my value is my value regardless of whether those people come or go. And my kids and your kids and anybody else that's around me, I want them to understand that as my legacy, that it's okay to be different. It's okay to not want what other people want, but it's also okay to be self-sufficient in basic traditional fundamentals. And I believe as life goes on here, we're going to see that the basic traditional fundamentals that I believe you and I have alike are going to be more taboo than what the taboo stuff is now.
Exactly. It's
It's
kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, with what my daughter's dealing with even my middle girl who's 12, 9? Yeah, 9 years old. Man, she's talking about stuff I didn't learn about until I was probably a sophomore, junior in high school.
Yeah.
I'm going,
Yeah.
we're not having those conversations.
No, it's not time for that yet. And it
No.
my oldest is 14, my stepdaughter is, and she's at that age where, you know, she's starting to crush on boys and things like that.
Okay.
And I was not prepared for this. B, you know, they come home from school and it's just like the stuff they're talking about that they're learning in school, dude.
Oh yeah. Well, we have, and like I said, we to add on to my deal, they're doing social media safety in classes now, and I'm like, hey, wait a sec. First of all, my kids don't have social media. Second of all, their daddy only uses it as a tool for my advertisement. I'm transparent on there, but I'm transparent with a purpose, right?
Yeah.
My kids don't need to know social media safety. They need to know that their daddy's going to protect them.
That's all they need to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's half the reason I still train the way I do. Is when boys and that kind of crap comes around, maybe they think twice about it when they see me. That's the
well, that's why you got to have that one recliner with the shotgun beside it, that when she brings her first boyfriend home, you're sitting there cleaning the gun out and making sure everything's ready to go. How you doing there, fella?
Yeah, so, I mean, and all joking aside, for me, it's about raising good individuals and knowing that they don't have to follow the crowd. And you know, fortunately, I've been blessed. I believe my wife probably deserves 99% of the credit. That my kids are very self-confident in themselves, and they understand right and wrong. But you know, as a dad, I feel almost awful as a failure, even though Frisco, Texas is one of the best school districts in the nation. And I still feel like a failure because they're experiencing things that they shouldn't have to experience, and their will to be an individual and their will to be comfortable in their beliefs is being tested every day. And for me, it harps on me. It wears on me that, you know, am I doing a good enough job? Should I mean, down to the point, I got friends telling me, hey, why don't you just open up a charter school? Man, I didn't like school the first time. Why would I open up? I mean, but, you know, big things. I mean, if you want to change the people, you got to change the people. And that's where you got to do things. I mean, I don't know. I'm seriously considering opening up a school, and a school of excellence, and trying to help kids that want to be excellent, want to be entrepreneurial, want to be something outside of the box. We can do. I mean, that's what I'm not saying I'm going to, but it's been a challenge thrown down by a couple of people, and I don't turn many of those down. So we'll see what happens. But you know,
that's
right
awesome,
now,
man.
It's the coaching and the supplement factory that's got my attention. But this is you know, last 48 hours, it's spiked up pretty good.
That's awesome, man. So, man, let me dive into this for a minute. You know, you mentioned the supplement factory. What made you take that step from business consulting and doing the contract work to stepping into the entrepreneurial space and opening your own business, and especially getting into the supplement world? And, you know, you and I are working together with CBD and the CBD community now.
Yeah.
And what got you into that space? What was it that prompted that drive, that really sparked that initial idea that said, hey, I think I can do this and make this work? And even more so, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. What was the passion behind it when you first jumped into it?
Well, so I've, like I said, always been a gym rat since high school. So I had always taken supplements, and I can remember very, very vividly, my wife was getting her hair done in the mall, and there's a GNC right across the way here in Frisco from the in the mall from where she was getting her hair done. And so I don't remember which kid I had, but I had one of our kids in a stroller, and I'm walking through there and looking, and I needed something I was taking. And this kid in there, no offense to him, but this overweight kid, probably 16, 17, minimum wager, right? Is trying to sell this guy who's in decent shape. He said, I want to gain more muscle. What do I take? Oh man, he was selling him everything opposite of what he needed. And, really not selling him enough. And so the guy goes, hey man, you look like you work out. What do you take to gain muscle? So we'll put all that crap back. Stop. And I picked out his stack for him. And when it come up, the kid's like, man, you sold him like $200 more than what I had picked out for him. And a light bulb went off. I was like, man, I know what I'm doing. This isn't just a hobby. I really kind of know my facts, because I'm one of those guys when I take a supplement or I take a whatever it is, I read into the compounds, and I knew what compounds did what. And, being when I came off the road from consulting, again, fortunate enough to meet the right people at the right place at the right time, I worked out with IFBB pro bodybuilders. So I learned a lot real quick. Again, ear hustling, understanding. And so as it would have it, a couple months later, I at that point had decided to come off the road. I was going to retire. Made a lot of money, and that lasted about 2 months. I built a deck. I repainted the entire inside of my house. We refloored the inside of my house, and I'm talking me by myself. And my wife was like, you got to go find a hobby outside of the house. Get out of my house. So,
it's a good thing, because you would eventually run out of stuff to do.
Yeah, I'd have built a house on top of it. I don't know. But as luck would have it, my training partner was in a bodybuilding competition. I went there to support him, and he introduced me to a guy who had a supplement shop. And it was right down, a couple miles from my house. And he said, actually, I'm getting ready to close up shop. And I said, why? And he said, man, I can't get foot traffic, can't get that, can't get this. So, well, how about I come see you Monday? And so I went and saw him, and I bought my first store while my wife was out of town. Imagine that phone call. I bought the LLC for $10,000 and took over the lease. So I called my wife, said, hey, bought a supplement store. He goes, well, what'd you buy? I said, no, I bought the whole store. He goes, we hadn't talked about that. I said, yeah, I know, got a great deal, had to do it. But I'm out of the house. I got my hobby.
There you go.
He wasn't real thrilled about it, as you can imagine. She was down in Lake Charles with the mom and visiting. So, 24 hours later, a guy calls me about a store that he's getting ready to go out of business. And it's, I don't know, about 15 miles away. And I go over and talk to him. He's like, look, man, if you'll take over the lease, I'll give it to you. So I took over another lease and had 2 stores in 48 hours. So not only did I call her the first time, but I had to call her twice. Hey, guess what? Bought another supplement store. that one really didn't go well. But long story short, I took over the 2 stores. I redid them in my my fashion. I'm a big guy with tattoos, and I thought, you know what? Let's make it real raw and edgy. I had graffiti on the wall. I had graffiti on the floor. I had TVs all over, a little lounge in the back type area where they could heat up their prep meals. And it took off. Every supplement that went through the door was the one I picked out. And so we were very niche and very geared towards, if you were a bodybuilder, power lifter, you loved, or a wannabe, you loved our store. I mean, because that's what we were geared all about. Bodybuilding, powerlifting, guys that wanted to get big, girls that wanted to be bikini models. We had your stuff. And my theory was I didn't want, we'll be real blunt here, is politically incorrect, but I didn't want a bunch of fat minimum wage kids. All my people were bodybuilders. I was the smallest guy in my company. All my guys were competitors or power lifters, or when you walked in the door to get a supplement, the person selling it to you looked like they actually took it and knew what they were talking about. And so that was our whole premise. That was our stick to the marketing, was come where you can talk to a real bodybuilder. And we grew from 1 store to 8 in a matter of 12 months. It's the fastest growing supplement chain in the U.S. for about a year there.
Hell yeah.
Again, I didn't know nothing about supplement or retail for that matter. I learned a lot of lessons about building up an infrastructure. 1 or 2 stores, no big deal. When you're running 8 and you don't have centralized warehousing, it screwed me. And I got to a point where, the coaching I had told me, look, you can do the old pump and dump. And it's pump up a business, get it worth a bunch of value, and then cash out. And so I took that method and I said, if somebody offers me, I'm not advertising this, we've got too much momentum, not affecting that. If somebody comes in and offers me the right price, I'm out. It wasn't but about 2 or 3 weeks later, a gentleman came in and offered me more than that price. And I bounced out. In bouncing out, we sold, made some decent money. 2 weeks later, I looked at my wife and said, I've made the worst mistake of my life. So for the first time, I had a business that was very profitable, where I was home every night. I made my own schedule around my kids and my wife and whatever I wanted to. And I grew it too big, too fast, and got scared. And it ate me up alive that I let fear take away my blessing. At the same time, I wasn't but maybe a couple months later, I popped my tendon in my bicep, breaking baseball bats for Strike Force. Ooh. And so not only am I upset about, me selling a company, I then lose what was then my identity, was being strong, to me, my whole identity was wrapped up into, if there's an object out there you need moved, I can move it. To top that all off, the investments I made with my money, long story short, God taught me a whole lot of lessons and brought me through a whole lot of trials that led me all the way to the brink of bankruptcy. So, retired, had several 7 figures, several million in the bank, down to selling my house and car and truck and motorcycle and all my toys to try to reboot. It happened over a period of about 1.5 years, but so that's 2.5 years ago. So I'm 33, I retire, multimillionaire. 35, I'm busted. And it not because I've spent frivolously, I just made some bad investments. And so 18 months ago, right, about in between 18 months and 2 years ago, 2 years ago, I was moving furniture. We had gotten all the way down to I was moving houses. And I said, I gotta, my mind's trashed, my self-worth's trashed, all that stuff I had tried to build myself up with trashed. And I hit a low that I said, this is it, I'm done. And I turned it around and we started Optiform making male enhancement pills on my kitchen counter. I quit the moving job, had just enough to buy the raws to do it. And in 18 months from my kitchen counter to I have a 27,000 square foot facility right now, 10 million in equipment. And we did just shy of $10 million last year in revenue. I've already got $80 million on the books, not including the CBD.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And that's inspiring is not even the word I want to use for that because it's just I don't feel like it does it justice, man. To know that you've gone from ultra success at a young age compared to most people who are at that point to dead broke and you know basically doing everything you can do just to scratch by to here it is not too long later all it took was a shift in your mindset. It was like, no, I can do this. This is not impossible. This is I know what I'm doing, and if I don't know, I'll figure it out as I'm doing it, and I'm going to make it work. And that's yeah, it's just beyond inspirational to hear that. It's very powerful, very moving, and man, I wish there was more people out there that had that kind of thinking like you do, man. And I think the world would be a little bit better place if they did. Um,
I appreciate that. Well, what you have to realize is the biggest part of my thinking is being grateful for the loss. And that sounds real counterintuitive, but man, God, and without getting too super spiritual and trying to preach at you, God put me there because I'd have never been able to relate to common people because I had never lost. I had never, I floated from job to job and always had the answer and always was one step ahead of any kind of tragedy or disaster. And I hit a brick wall and I lost. I lost for the first time and I lost big. Bet the house, so to speak, and lost. And for me now, man, I'm capable of helping people that are common folks with common problems. I'm not so high and mighty that I go, oh, you need to invest in yourself. No, maybe sometimes you need a hand up. Maybe sometimes you don't need that internet course from that fake guru. You need somebody to wrap their arm around you and tell you, hey, man, it's going to be okay, and I'm going to help you make it okay. And from the time we started Optiform 18 months ago, it's been my personal mission statement to get at $100 million revenue so I can go out and start my coaching program. At that time, it was to start my coaching program and let people know that I have some authority, some real chops in business, some real results in business, so I can go help people change their mindsets. You don't have to be a victim of your circumstance. You can turn that. In fact, one of the things we were recording earlier today is part of my coaching program of taking L's and turning those losses into leverage for your win. And it really is the case. Everything that happened to me happened for me. I just had to figure out what that loss meant and what the purpose of that loss is, the purpose of that pain in your progress. And for me, I identified those as, God wanted me to touch more people. And in order to touch more people, I have to be able to relate to more people. And in order to relate to more people, I've got to go through the trash and the garbage and the loss and the hurt and the pain, the uncertainty and the fear and all of those things that normal people go through that they don't express because that makes them weak. They don't talk about it because that would make them unsuccessful. And part of the reason I do my videos the way I do them is because I want people to just see me. Just see that, look, yeah, I run a multi-million-dollar business. And yeah, I started it and I have no debt. But I got scars on the inside and outside that people relate to. I'm still a dad. I'm a dad that can go out and speak to 10,000 people in an arena and have done multiple times last year. I'm still the same guy that my wife, walk in from 10,000 people adoring what I'm saying and really feeling my message. And I think they really just liked watching me break bats. But hearing that, and I walk in the door and my wife goes, hey, your puppy pooped on the floor, go clean it up. And realizing that you go from mountain high to mountain low and you got to be the same guy. I'm not Brandon the motivator. I'm, Brandon the husband and dad and puppy owner now. So it's understanding that balance in life. And so many people think they have the lottery winning mentality that success comes from Oh, you must have gotten lucky. You must have had a winning lottery ticket. And I said it this morning. Willy Wonka ain't real, and even if he was, you ain't Charlie. Go out there and bust your tail. Go out there and work for your success. Go out there and do it in a manner of integrity that makes you relatable to people. I don't care if they find me inspiring. I don't care if they even like me or how I look or how I talk or wearing a hat or no hat. I don't care about those things. What I care about is that they can see who I am and realize that I didn't settle for average. I am above average, but I'm above average because I want to lead the way for those people that are stuck in average right now, can come back to or come forward and press forward to where they need to be in life. It's it's mental, it's physical, it's financial, it's spiritual, and it's necessary for everybody. If you're going to fulfill your legacy, if you're like Zach, and I did Zach's podcast, by the way, about 6 months ago, but for me, it's necessary that if you're going to live a fulfilled life, if you're going to lay down in bed at night and, exhale that cleansing breath and go, I gave it my all today. I helped as many people as I can today. I'm fulfilled with what I'm doing in life. Man, you sleep like a baby. I don't have no trouble sleeping because I know I'm doing exactly what God put me on this earth to do. It may not be preaching like the 6 generations before me, but I guarantee you I affect more people in a positive manner than those 6 generations do, because I'm real. I'm not throwing a Bible at them. I'm not telling them they're going to hell. I'm not, not telling them they shouldn't do X, Y, Z. I'm saying I'm going to love you and help you regardless of any of that. Whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you're black, whether you're white, Mexican, man, woman, boy, child, I don't care. I just want to help you be better. And for me, the journey has been that I've got to show the love, and I've got to show the people that despite our differences, despite your mindset, I'm still Brandon that loves you. I'm still Brandon that will put my arms around you and help you out of whatever it is, whether I like you or hate you. And I don't hate many. There's a few. But whether I love or hate you, I'm still willing to reach my hand out and help you, because that's what God's called us to do. And so for me, that's the simple mission. It's to coach people to get them to that mindset, because when you get to that mindset, no problems in life are problems. They're actually challenges to level you up.
Absolutely right, man. That's awesome. So, man, I'm going to wrap things up here, man. Question I like to ask a lot of people. What is the best advice you can offer to someone out there who's skeptical about all of this entrepreneurship lifestyle, but they just know that their current lifestyle isn't working anymore? Like, what kind of value can you impart on someone who's in a situation where they work all week long just to make ends meet? They don't really have a whole lot of time to spend with their families, and they don't really have any idea of how to begin to break free of that typical 9-to-5 slave life that so many people get caught up in.
For me, I tell you, it's what you do in the dark that will make you shine in the light. And what I mean by that is what you do. I understand the family time. I understand the 9-to-5, but there's 5 to 9 that's free. And I believe it was Steve Harvey that said, rich people don't sleep. I sleep 4 hours a day, 4.5 max. But it's because while my family's sleeping, I'm grinding for that better life. And you can do it too. Like I said, I'm not the smartest. I'm not the best. I'm not anything special. I'm just driven. So find that drive, and the best way for you to get out of that 9-to-5 is to identify what you're passionate about, and then just figure out how to monetize it. There's so much debate about whether they should do what I'm passionate about or no, do what makes money. Make your passion make money. I love to help people, so I'm going to coach them. I love to see people transform, so I'm going to make products that they can transform. I don't have to be, a pastor to help people. I don't have to be a trainer in the gym to watch people transform. I can make products. To me, I identify every product that goes out of my door as a product of excellence that's going to help better people's lives. And so that fulfills the passion in me and makes me fulfilled in life. I love to help people break through their mental blocks. So I coach, and I can monetize my coaching very well. And that helps me fulfill people, because I watch people on a micro level with my coaching and a macro level with my supplements. I watch their lives improve on both sides. And so, I mean, why wouldn't I be fulfilled? And I'm nothing special to that. So if I'm nothing special, you can do it too. Even you with electric. I mean, you're still side hustling on the CBD. You're still, I'm sure you got other things in play, and you're pretty passionate about the CBD. So why wouldn't you figure out a way to monetize that, and figure out a way to monetize whatever else you're passionate about? And it can be really closely related, or it can be distant. As long as you can identify the passion and the fulfillment, you'll always be successful. Money will find you.
Awesome, brother. Awesome, man. And yeah, I'm definitely we're gonna have to have some more talks in the future for sure, man. But man, it's been
Anytime,
great.
man.
It's been great having you here, man. You have provided more value to these listeners than I could have ever even hoped for.
Appreciate that.
So, man, like I said, it's been great having you here, man. I hope to have you back sometime, and I look forward to working with you. We got the CBD going on now. I'm really excited about that. Looking forward to what we can bring to the table and what we can bring to the marketplace, man. And man, just overall, man, have a great evening. Thanks for being an awesome dude. And yeah,
anytime, my man. I appreciate being here, and I'm always available.
good deal, man. If anybody in the audience wants to reach out, look up Brandon Gazaway on Facebook. Great dude, real humble. Would love to talk to anybody at any time. Just, don't disturb his 4 hours of sleep, because man's only getting 4 hours of sleep. He needs it. All right, Brandon, you have a great evening, man. We'll see you next time, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.